What's up, guys? Yeah. Looks like we have puddles. Yes, we have puddles, but I'm going to make it through. Hey man, the thing about the mud here is that it gets like ice sometimes. It gets pretty slippery. Gotta watch your step even when you're walking through the mud. So first of all, I want to say thank you, as always, to all of my supporters. You guys are awesome. You rock. I love you guys. And if you want to get in on my exclusive weekly videos, Sunday Stuff with Dave, this last Sunday I sent one out a couple days ago talking about relationships here. Told the story about how I met Sanglai and all that good stuff. I often give out information and things that I don't normally put on my public channel, so if you want to get in on that and receive them weekly, all you have to do is donate at any of the links down below. Become a supporter of the channel. Got links down there for my PayPal. Also buymeacoffee.com/DDC and my Patreon. And then you'll be on the list. And that's a good place to be. And if it's your first time donating, I'll also send you a copy of my book, Live in Cambodia, a guide for living in the Kingdom of Wonder, and a thank you email. So all those links are down below. Be sure to check them out. And to my supporters, again, I say thank you. Now, in my last video in this series, I talked about some physical challenges and changes you might go through when you first move here. Today I'm going to talk about the mental aspects, because the physical things will happen simply because you're going to be out and about. Really nothing you can do about it. You're out in the sun too long, you're going to get burnt. There are ways you can make yourself feel more comfortable, of course. That's what I talked about in my last video. But when it comes to the mental aspects of moving here, it's better, I think, to be prepared. And I mean, it's stressful enough as it is, especially, and this is more for people who are coming here to stay long term, or maybe for the rest of their lives. You know, moving itself is stressful. Just moving from a different town, or to a different house in the same town, it's a very stressful time. So imagine, you know, you're selling everything you can permanently, and then changing countries, not just countries, but one that is halfway around the world, at least from the United States. And so there's already a lot of that mental stress happening. And then when you get here, you are just filled. You're just from every direction with strange sounds, strange smells. You don't know protocol, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to trust, who not to trust. And so, yeah, that can add to the stress. So I will say this, again, and everything I say here is based on my experience and talking to other people, but it might not be everybody's experience. So I don't want you to think I'm trying to be an authority on this, on the subject of mental health, because if you've seen any of my other videos on my channel, Laughing on the Inside, my comedy podcast, by the way, that link is down below, you'll know maybe mental health isn't my my subject of knowledge. But I will say this, I have learned some things about moving here that have helped me, and hopefully they will help you too. Because you're moving to a place, it's a developing country. That's the first thing you have to realize. A lot of people get, in my opinion, way too upset at things because the country doesn't have certain creature comforts or certain ease of use in certain areas that they're used to back in the West, in a first world country. So I'm not going to say lower your expectations, but yeah, I am. Lower your expectations on what you can do, what you can expect here. And remember, you're not in Kansas anymore there, Toto. And you have to play by the rules of the new place you call home. The first few days, you're probably going to be a little bit of jet lag going on, especially if you come from, the United States is really far away. Hello there, doggy. You only bark when I have a camera. You are camera shy, and you should be. You should be. Yeah, you'll be jet lagged, but the thing is, eventually, you'll figure it out. We have all made mistakes when we first moved here, every single one of us. And if you've been to Cambodia before for any length of time, feel free to tell people some of your mistakes. Some of the things you did wrong, some of the things you should have paid more attention to. And I'll explain mine. The first thing is, of course, it is a Buddhist country. It's also a very conservative country compared to the United States, so you have to be prepared for certain things, that are socially acceptable here. It might not be back home socially, things you might do back home that are socially unacceptable here. And the biggest one, and I have said this before on the channel, but the thing that will really help you mentally deal with things is to be patient, to realize that this is the way this country is run. And unless you have an idea that you're willing to put into action to improve it, and complaining about it isn't going to get you anywhere. Yelling, screaming, losing your temper, going off on rants on people because you think they're trying to rip you off, or you think, it should be a certain way and it's not to your liking. That is very much a no-no here. It will really give you a bad reputation around town. Word will spread. And I know people who have been banned permanently from different venues simply because they couldn't control their temper. And they might be patient the first couple times, but after a while, they don't need the hassle. They're just trying to make a buck. And they're going to 86 you. And I do want to say that, like I said, every mistake you make, every time you do something and it makes you upset, and you start overthinking it and thinking you embarrass yourself, thinking there's no way I can recover from this. That's not necessarily true. Everybody makes mistakes. People here are not going to judge you based on mistakes you make. But there's a difference between making an honest mistake and just getting angry because something isn't working the way it did back where you came from. Because that's not going to happen. There are little things here that you won't be able to find that would be very easy to find back home. If you're going to use a credit card, you need to go to a higher end place, which means, hello, more expensive place. Otherwise, it's a cash country. You have to figure out the currency. You have to figure out at least enough of the language to get by at first. And you'll make mistakes along the way. I certainly did. I bought things where I negotiated. I brought them down on their price. I thought it was really a great deal. Then later on, I realized that normally it was even less than what I negotiated for. So you feel kind of foolish because you did that. I've had tuk-tuk drivers try to tell me, try to charge me $5 to $10. As a matter of fact, one time it was $10 coming from the downtown area back to my apartment on Street 20, which is at the most $1.50, maybe $2 if you feel generous, So, yeah, you will be challenged in certain ways, but I think patience is the key here to most of the mental challenges. Now, I'm talking mental challenge and that comes with the stress of moving to a new country, experiencing a new culture, and things like that. people who have mental health issues, wherever they are in the world, sometimes get under the impression that moving to a different place, you know, they hear about places like Cambodia and surrounding countries, you know, they're Buddhist and it's peaceful and calm, I can cure my mental illness. That's just a fantasy. If you're coming here to escape any of that, any problems you have at home, trying to run away from your problems, trying to cure yourself of some kind of mental health issue you may have, I'm afraid that generally does not turn out well. Does not turn out good. And could actually get worse. Especially if you're subject to any kind of addiction. So I do want to stress that when I'm talking about the mental challenges, I'm talking about from a perspective of someone who has never been diagnosed with a mental illness, but just the general stress that comes from moving to a new place, having to acclimate to it. And that's the second key, by the way, acclimation. Just like I talked about in my video about the physical challenges, mentally you have to acclimate to your new surroundings and new way of life. Like I know people who won't come to the market like this, one of the local markets, because all the motorcycles, all the motorbikes that come by. You got to watch yourself. I say this in almost all my videos in markets like this. You have to watch yourself because you will have motorbikes everywhere. And they will come through and clip you if you're not paying attention. And a lot of people are like, well, that's just stupid. These people are dumb. Why are they doing this? They're lazy. They can't get off and walk. And hey, man, I understand that's the way you think back home. But here, this is just part of the life. This is part of the way things are done. And that's what I'm talking about. Not to get upset over the small little things that you can, you know, forget about. Because otherwise you're just going to drive yourself crazy. Your mental state is going to get worse instead of better. You know, people complain about the traffic. Yeah, the driving here is crazy. If you're prone to road rage back home, just remember over here there's going to be 10 times what you've experienced back home. And yet, that's the way it is. And I think a lot of people are under the impression if they complain enough, the government's going to change it just for them, and that's not going to happen. So yeah, prepare yourself as mentally as you can. Nobody can really give a definitive list of all the things you're going to experience that could affect you mentally. There's just so many little things. And even after 3.5 years here, I find myself sometimes going, well, I can't believe this happened, or I can't believe I can't find this. I could walk to a corner store and back home and get this. I don't know why they don't have it. And that's natural. That's fine. Have your little pity party like I do. You know, I'm including myself in that. And then realize, okay, well, I'm not back home, so my corner store isn't here. So I'm this is what I got. And just got to deal with it. So yeah, preparation, acclimation, and really picking your battles. There are some things here, I mean, you don't want to be a victim. You don't want to be taken advantage of, I understand. And those things you should put your foot down and say no. Like with them tuk-tuk guys, $10. I just said no. He said, I'm going to call the police. I said, call the police. Then there was a standoff. And finally he said $3. I gave him $2. Because that's the most I've ever paid to get from one place to the next. So certainly stick up for yourself, but you don't have to. I mean, neither of us raised our voices. Nobody was ready to punch one another over the price. And even though we're not going to remain friends because I feel he tried to steal money from me, we're also not mortal enemies. It's not like I'm going to see him and go, I'm going to put that guy on a list and have him taken out or something. That's ridiculous. Because you always have a choice in how you react to things. So stick up for yourself, you know. Don't let people take advantage, but also pick your fights. Not everything has to be a fight. Not everything has to be a complaint. If you're choosing to live here, you should remember that. And the reason I say that is because there are so many expats here that just have so many complaints all the time. Sometimes it's hard to talk to some of them. If you get them in large groups, it just becomes a bitch fest. That's all it is. One guy will say something like, "Oh, here's what happened to me today. This guy, he almost hit my bike in because he turned the wrong way or he wasn't paying attention." And then everybody will have a story, and pretty soon it turns into other things. And yeah, this guy tried to do this, and then yeah, I had a lady at the market do this, and that's about the point where I have to check out, because a lot of things they begin to describe are just things that are here. It's just the way it is here. So that's really all I can say about that. Like I said, covering mental health issues. I'm not a professional. I'm not a counselor. Get some help for that, definitely. And I'm not saying if you have any issues like that, you shouldn't move here. All I'm saying is that if you think it's going to be a cure-all, it could actually be more detrimental, because you're putting a lot of mental pressure on yourself with the stress of the move and adapting. So just take those things into consideration. But in general, for everybody else, no matter how much you prepare, you are going to at some point be challenged mentally. Just some things you see, things you smell, things you taste for the very first time, just your mind is not going to be able to handle it. It's going to be like, what did I get myself into? Oh my God. But it'll be all right. And the last thing I want to talk about is that almost everybody does it. It happens to almost everybody. Especially if you're a social person, you have a lot of friends and family back home. But there always comes, when you first get here, there's a honeymoon period. You're in love with everything. It's all exciting. It's all new. You're like, woohoo, I did it. And that's fine. Then about a month or two, that honeymoon period's over. And that's usually when it's a critical point for a lot of people. They just get homesick. So it's like, okay, I had my fun, but can I live here? Can I stay here like longer than this 1 or 2 months I've been here? I don't know, because I'm not liking this, or this. I miss this, and this. And that's fine. It happens. I know people who sold everything to start over and moved here. A month and a half later, they went back home because they realized after that time, man, I miss everything about back home. I miss my friends. I miss my old places I used to go, my hobbies that I can't do here because they're either too expensive or they don't have them. And I really don't want to teach English. You know, some people find that out after they get here, when they come here to teach. They really don't want to do it once they see the inside of a classroom. And I can understand that. And there's no judgments. Because like I said, most people will have that moment, that time period, after they've been here a while, where they have to make that decision. So remember, that's coming. You know, you can make your own choice, but be sure to think about the good and the bad before you do. Because it's bad enough if you moved here and then regretted it and have to move all the way back and start over, but it would be worse if once you got back, you're like, oh man, I made a mistake. I remember now, this is why I left in the first place, and now I want to go back. So, choose wisely. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe. And be sure to share this video across social media far and wide. And also check out all my links down below. I have links to my PayPal, buymeacoffee.com, and my Patreon. And any donation is really appreciated. I really mean it. I try to give you guys exclusive content all the time. Always coming up with new ways to do it. So be sure to get in on that. Other channels in Cambodia, they are listed down below for your pleasure. Also my social media, my books, t-shirts, and other things that are for sale. The links are down there for those as well. And that'll do it for this one. All right, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.